breaking up is hard to do, especially when it's with the phone you kind of like. And I'm talking, of course, about the iPhone 16 Pro. So I've been doing a lot of maybe public hemming and hawing over the last week or so since it came out. And I got to say, it's been a pretty good experience. Likely the 16 Pro will be good for most folks who need a smaller phone, but I need the battery life on the Pro Max. And I think that's just the unfortunate reality that I'm ended up with here. So I started off with the Pro Max and I was really impressed with it, but I wanted to try out the Pro because I do like the smaller phones. I mean, even in my Android phone, I've been carrying around the Pixel 9 Pro, love the smaller form factor. So it's been really interesting carrying around the Pixel 9 Pro and the iPhone 16 Pro simultaneously. But the issue is still that the battery life just isn't quite good enough. Like it's almost there, and on some days it does last me well enough, but unfortunately, as I get towards the end of the day, there's just some situations where I'm a little closer than comfort, and then I got to throw it on the charger, and that's fine. I mean, there's nothing wrong with having to charge your phone, but sometimes I like not having to deal with battery issues, and two, I really like having the extra battery in the Pro Max. So I moved back 2 days ago to the Pro Max, and I just find that on my day-to-day usage, especially when I go out. So like I work from home. When I did a lot of my initial battery testing stuff, I tried it out at home with Wi-Fi, but also going out on 5G and like kind of a good mix. But I think the final nail in the coffin for my decision process was I was out away from the house almost all day the other day. 2 days ago, I got up, I went out, I had lunch with a buddy, I had a doctor's appointment, I had to go to my kid's football game, and then I ended up going out to dinner with family. And by the time I got home, my phone was practically dead. And I'm like, all right, so on a full hard day away from the house, just not quite enough. And just that extra little bit of percentage that I need is made up for with the Pro Max over here. And I bought both of them, so I'm probably going to end up giving the 16 Pro to my son or somebody. I've got 6 kids. Somebody's going to use it. I'm not taking it back to the store. But when it comes to the Pro Max, here's the thing, and I talked about this the other day because I was having a really, really hard time trying to decide because I love the form factor on the 16 Pro. And the battery life is definitely the best it's been since the 13 Pro. But there's a big difference in getting like 6 to 7 hours of screen on time, 7 to 8 hours, and like 9 to 10, 10 to 11. And there's just like basically about an hour and a half to 2 hours screen on time difference from kind of what I'm experiencing. So that's the difference between, okay, end of day I have 10 to 15% battery, or end of day I have 30, 40%. So I think that's kind of where I'm at now. And just to show you something real quick, this is actually the Nomad magnetic back. This is not paid for, sponsored, whatever. Like they sent it out to me, good people over there, but it pops off the back and it actually works with the MagSafe and stuff. But this is something that helps me to use a bigger phone. Why? Because traditionally when you have a phone, you have a phone case. Phone cases add heft and bulk. And this is a big phone. Like make no mistake, the Max is a big phone. They call it the Pro Max for a reason. And it's very bulky, 6.9-inch screen, large phone. So when you add the extra heft and bulk of a case, that makes it even more unwieldy. So this kind of helps out a little bit. And when I carried the iPhone 15 Pro Max last year, probably the first 6 months, I used one of these and I have Apple Care. So I'm like, all right, screen protector, leather casing on the back, Apple Care. I'm pretty good here. And that's kind of what I expect to roll around with this time. So I'm going to continue to use this, but that helps. It helps mitigate some of the issues I had. Now, it's still very frustrating. Like, I pick it up and I'm like, oh, let me touch something on the other side of the phone with my thumb, and like, it just doesn't reach. So, still not really a perfect world, because really, if we had like maybe a couple extra 100 milliamps in the 16 Pro, it would be perfect. And for most people, it's going to be fine. Like, most people aren't like me who need to use their phone that intensively. But when I'm out and about, sometimes I'm gone all day. I got to go on these trips. I'm going on a trip out of town for work in 2 weeks, and I'm going to be using the battery a lot. I'm going to be shooting a vlog. I just don't have enough confidence that the 16 Pro is going to get me all the way through what I need it to. Of course, you could use a battery bank. You could top it up. Like, there's things you could do, but I can't be bothered. Like, I just want it to do what I need it to do, to not have any issues, and to have the best battery experience possible. So yeah, I think I'm probably going to be stuck here using the Pro Max. And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, both of them are fine. If you want the Pro Max, get the Pro Max. If you want the Pro, get the Pro. And I've been testing the Pro heavily because I want other people to know kind of what the experience is. Most people actually gravitate towards the Pro Max, but the Pro, I think, offers a lot of things that people want in that smaller form factor. And I think there's still a lot of folks who don't want a gigantic phone. Hence, one of the reasons why I think Google made the Pixel 9 Pro. It's nice having a smaller phone like this. So yes, I think that's kind of where I'm at in this ballpark. And I think it works out well for me because I am carrying the Pixel 9 Pro. So I've got like the Pixel 9 Pro for the smaller phone for like a lot of the day-to-day stuff. And then with the iPhone 16 Pro Max, when I'm using it for recording, when I'm using it for shooting video, when I'm shooting pictures, when I'm doing other things, it gives me a good balance. So I'm not carrying two gigantic phones. And then also you kind of get that extra benefit because I'm carrying one smaller phone with my primary SIM card in it, and then a bigger phone with my secondary SIM card in it. And a lot of people don't understand that. Like, I carry two phones all the time. I used to carry three a long time ago. I used to carry a BlackBerry. I would carry an Android phone like a Samsung Galaxy, and I would carry an iPhone. So way back in the day, before I actually started making videos, I was carrying three phones around, and my wife was like, "You're absolutely crazy. How do you have three phones?" So anyway, yeah, there's that dark period of time in my life. Sometimes I still do. I actually have like 3 or 4 SIM cards. I have active lines with a few different services. But yeah, I carry two phones all the time. And maybe that's what helps with this decision. And maybe that's what helps with me. But I think that I'm going to go ahead and go with the Pro Max. And the other reason is this. As much as I like smaller phones, having a bigger phone sometimes makes a big difference. Normally I will have like a lot of times a folding phone, but I haven't been using one of those lately because, well, the Pixel phones came out, the iPhones came out. You know, there's a lot of phones that have come out I've been having to test. So kind of counterbalancing it, normally like last year I had my 15 Pro Max with my secondary SIM. And one of the frustrating things though, and somebody was like, well, if you don't like iPhones so much, then why do you always carry one around? I was like, well, one, I use it to keep track of my kids with the Find My app. 2, I use it to communicate with my kids. I have things like Apple TV and all those different, not Apple TV, but Apple Card. They all use the Apple Card, and I monitor and I manage that stuff. They like to do the Apple games for iMessage, and I record all my videos. So that's why I carry one around. But I actually didn't used to always carry one around. I didn't do that until Apple screwed me and screwed everybody else and went to this stupid whole eSIM only thing. And used to be I would carry around, if I carried an iPhone previously, a lot of times it would be the iPhone SE. Like a lot of time last year, and especially the year before last, I carried around the iPhone SE 2022 a lot. I made a lot of videos about it. I like the iPhone SE 2022. But yeah, it's frustrating not being able to switch the SIM card out because it gives me less freedom. So I'm like, all right, well, I know I always have to record videos and do stuff with my kids, so my secondary SIM's always in this. And then my primary is kind of a floater, whether that's like the Z Fold 6, whether it's a Pixel 9 Pro, whether it's a Sony Xperia 1 Mark 6. So it gives me flexibility where Apple doesn't. But anyway, yeah, big phone, small phone. If you're carrying two, you want to maximize and get the best out of both of them. And one other nice thing, if I have this, even with the big screen, it's always a big screen. And sometimes, like I said, I'll carry my Z Fold 6. It's much smaller footprint, and then you open it up. So that's like big and bigger screen, but having still the compact form factor. But anyway, hopefully this has helped. Hopefully if you were in the market and you were looking for that last little push over the edge to try and determine which one of these phones that you want to use, maybe this has been helpful. But I do have to say, I love the 6.3-inch screen. I love all the stuff they did with it. I'm glad that it's the same across the board as the Pro Max now, other than the battery and the screen size. And yeah, that's just, like I said, I've got the smaller case on here, so it helps mitigate some of the size issues. But if you want the Pro, if you can get around with 6-7 hours screen on time, and like that's good for you, that's probably good for 95% of creation, then you'll probably enjoy this phone a lot. But here's the other consideration I had. So I know that the battery and the heat issues I haven't had any issues with that. Signal's been better, all those things. After 1 year, my iPhone 15 Pro Max was down to 87% overall battery health. And as I charged my phone over 400 cycles, and just for an educational moment, if you ever look at your battery health, it's not, okay, you charged it to 100%, it's the 100% block total. So if you have your iPhone and you let it get down to 50% and you charge it to 100%, that's actually half a cycle. If you get it down to 50 and go back to 100% again, that's one full charging cycle. So I had over 400 charging cycles in 1 year, exactly 1 year. So that tells you that even with the Pro Max, on certain days, I will kill it and have to charge it again. So I'm a very upper echelon of power user. But anyway, yeah, that's another thought process. Historically, Apple doesn't have great battery life on their phones when it comes to overall battery health. and as it degrades, the battery life gets worse. So if I'm right on that margin of error, like just a little bit over the line right now, if that goes down in 6 to 8 months, I'll be in a bad place. So ultimately, all that stuff combined, that's why I'm lamenting this, I think, probably decision, but probably going to be sticking with the Pro Max. I think that's where I found myself. So anyway, hopefully this was helpful. Hopefully my my drama when it comes to these phones is giving you a little bit of insight as to what you might need or what you might want to use in your life. And of course, you can always go YOLO and just get the bigger one anyway. But I do think, like, resoundingly, Apple did a really good job with the 16 Pro this year. It's better than the 15 Pro. I think better than the 14 Pro. I think they've done a good job there. So that's all I've got. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, gripes, complaints, I don't need you to type first world problems down in the comment section. That's obvious. Everybody already knows that. So save yourself the typing and us the brain cells, and we'll move on from there. But anyway, that's all I got. If you enjoyed the video, if you found this helpful, if you like this stuff, hit the like and the subscribe button and a little notification bell if you want updates when new videos come out. And as always, thanks for being here. I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you guys next time.